Breaking news. Erik Ten Hag is staying in the job. Thomas Tuchel has got the England job. United fans were hoping that Thomas Tuchel would eventually decide to go to United. That's not now happened. This feels like it might end up being good news for United. Like, stability has been lacking for a while. People have been going, this manager's going to come in and this manager's going to come in. Whether or not you agree with Ten Hag staying or not, for Ten Hag, for the club, this feels like maybe a line in the sand that they can go beyond now.
Yeah, it feels like the noise around Thomas Tuchel and that Manchester United job is going to die now because he's obviously taken on the head coaching role, I beg your pardon, at England, which is a massive job for him. But for Erik Ten Hag, he must have been breathing a sigh of relief actually when he heard that news, because Tuchel is one of the names that constantly gets talked about. But the thing is with Ten Hag is that, you know, he's got an opportunity now to turn things around, and he has to take it, because there's only so many times that you can say, fresh start, let's go again. To me, it was a miracle that he survived that last run of games before the international break. They went to Porto, and but for a very late equaliser after surrendering that 2-goal lead, I think he would have been in serious trouble. They went to Aston Villa. A lot of people backed Villa to beat them that day. It didn't happen. So he managed to carve out two semi-positive results and put them in a place where things were looking a little bit more positive. But this is a run of games now that I think Kimmy's really got to win and pick up points from.
Yeah, I think I've been quite scathing. I think we all have with Ten Hag. But I think the last 6 months have been incredibly unfair on him. The Manchester United hierarchy haven't really treated him with any respect whatsoever. Of course, in summer, they were very open about wanting a new manager, couldn't get one. It seems like every couple of weeks there's a crisis talk where he ends up clinging onto his job. And that will affect what happens on the pitch. If you're a manager who's under that much pressure and that much scrutiny every single game, it's very hard to get your head away from the clouds and try and play a style of football that you want, because you're thinking, this game is a final. Okay, now this game is a final, I'll be sacked. So I don't think he's been helped whatsoever by the hierarchy. I think now that Thomas Tuchel, who was probably the only one who was going to go for that Manchester United job, and he did say that he had conversations in his first England press conference, he admitted that he had conversations with other clubs, assuming one of them probably was United, and said that those negotiations lasted too long. So again, I think that's a bit of a mess up from the Man United hierarchy. That's not happened. Ten Hag is here now. There's probably no other manager that they can go for in the next 3 to 6 months. So this will be really important for him. Hopefully, for his own mentality, he feels secure in the job for the next few months, because they've got winnable games. They've got Brentford at home. Fenerbahce away, you're going to lose that because it's Mourinho and he's going back to United. But then West Ham away and then Leicester at home in the Cup. That's 4 games. United should definitely be getting 9 points from those 4.
I think the other big thing on this side, in terms of like psychology, everyone knows I love psychology, is that if you look at these players, I don't think anyone's actually down tools. They've previously been accused under Solskjaer and other managers that the players don't want to play for the gaffer, but I do think these players do want to play for Ten Hag, and they do believe in his style, and they are trying to follow his instructions. The injuries are obviously a big problem for him, and he keeps getting players injured, and not deliberately, obviously. But Kobe Mainoo's out, Mazraoui's out. But I still look at this 11 and go, against Brentford at home, if you can win after an international break, change that feeling again. One thing he does really well is when the pressure is on, he always finds a way out.
Yeah, he does. He's done it many times in the past. You think about the FA Cup final at the back end of last season, when all the reports were saying that he was going to be sacked regardless of the outcome. He manages to pull off a historic win for United, given the gap between them and City at the moment, and all of a sudden there's a positivity around him again. I think you're right to say that the players haven't down tools. I don't think that's the case. I think anybody that showed any signs of maybe sort of losing faith in Erik Ten Hag has been moved on. And he's had a few fallings out. We've seen that, and those players are no longer there. Where I would question him, though, is the players that he's brought in to replace those players and that he's building around now. Are they at the required level? And that's the question that I think still remains unanswered.
What would you say is the required level? Because when you just said then about the next 4 games being really winnable, I somewhat agree, but then I look at the state of United and everything going on. I do see this and go, the Mourinho game, they're going to lose that. It's in Fenerbahce. Brentford, they should win at home. West Ham away. West Ham have been poor. And then Leicester in the League Cup is not that difficult either. But then I do go, but what is the bar here? Is the bar now for Ten Hag, try and win as many games as possible until the end of the season, just give it your best shot?
I think, to be honest, Ten Hag and managers before him at Manchester United have been hampered by the fact that they had Sir Alex Ferguson. But that was 12 years ago. The required level for Manchester United is not the required level. We keep on talking about it, that they should be regularly competing for Champions League. They should be regularly competing for the league title. But why? Because they have a historic name. The only thing that goes against Manchester United, which is why they should be doing better, is because of the amount of money they've spent. But we don't know what is going on behind the scenes there. How many of those players did Ten Hag want? You assume a few, because a lot of them came from Ajax or came from the Dutch league. So you assume that he had a bit of knowledge on them. But none of them have worked out as you would have expected. None of the signings before that would have worked out as you would have expected. And he's joined the club, and he's joined a group of players who are probably on overinflated wages, who might not have a particular love for the club, who don't necessarily want to be there. And he's been stuck with what is actually an incredibly difficult job. He's also had the backdrop of constantly feeling under pressure for his job. I think he's doing an okay job at the moment. I think he's doing fine. Their problem is that they can't score goals. They're underperforming their XG most out of any team in the league. They've got an XG of 11. They've scored 5 goals. A lot of the time, as a manager, you cannot put the ball in the back of the net for your players.
You can't, but that comes back to the point I made about the players coming in. Are they of the required level? So clearly your system creates chances, and clearly your patterns of play are opening teams up. But in Højlund, who they paid a lot of money for before he was really a proven forward, in Xerxes, who they also paid a decent amount of money for, but had a questionable goal record before he came to England. Have they bought players that can take Manchester United to not even winning Premier League titles again, but to a place where they are regulars in the top 4 year in, year out?
But how many?
Because I would question that Højlund and Xerxes, the 2 strikers, because we're talking about goals here, none of them had proven enough yet to say that they were going to be the solution. And so I'm looking at the coach now to develop them into those players. Now, he needs a bit of time to do that, but he's had Højlund for a little bit longer. Xerxes, I don't know he's ever going to be that out-and-out goal scorer. So my question is the recruitment right to get United to where they need to be? And the recruitment we've seen so far, people will say it's not, but it's largely been driven by Erik Ten Hag, because a lot of these players are players that he knows from the past.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. I think what you have to ask is how many players are there out there? How many top players are there out there? The only thing that Manchester United have going for them is their name. If you're a top player and you want to move to the Premier League, you're not going to be looking at Manchester United in the same way that you would have done 10 years ago. You're just not. That's just not the case. So you've got Højlund. He's a good player. He's probably not an exceptional player under a better manager. Because let's have it right. Ten Hag is not a world-class manager. He never has been, and he probably won't be. He's not an Arteta who can buy Kai Havertz and turn him into a goal-scoring centre forward. He's not a Pep Guardiola who can buy pretty much anyone on the continent and turn them into a world beater. He's not that. So he's got players there who are probably at the requisite quality for where Manchester United are at the moment. We have this inflated expectation of them to constantly be achieving and constantly be doing things. They don't have a manager for that. They don't have the recruitment for that, and they don't have the backroom staff for that.
I do also think there is a slight... I agree, actually, with both, but I do also look at the players a little bit and go, someone like Bruno Fernandes hasn't been in form for 18 months. He can't put the ball in the back of the net. He's not even creating goal-scoring opportunities that are absolutely clear-cut. So he's not in the form that they need him to be in. Marcus Rashford, these 2 guys were 2 staples of Ten Hag's first season, I think it was. Rashford can't put the ball in the back of the net anymore. So 2 of the guys that he's probably relying on. Let's strip it to like another club that we look at, say Arsenal. If Saka's out of form and Ødegaard's out of form, they're not going to score as many goals. The moment Rashford and Bruno find form, they might be fine in front of goal. It's just one of those things where I think they're kind of like caught between many things. Also, the list of injuries: Ugarte, Mount, Garnacho, Maguire, Kobe Mino, as I mentioned, Euro, Mazraoui potentially, and they'll then have to shift their back 4 along. Evans has to come back in. All this stuff happening is not going to help this team win football matches. I kind of want to get to a point with Ten Hag where I want everyone fit, and I want certain players in form to go, that's who you are.
I think you can tell that there is something there. Like Harry mentioned, they're obviously creating chances, which is why their XG is quite high. They obviously have something about them, and Ten Hag has something about them, or they wouldn't have won the FA Cup against City last year. They wouldn't have won these games where you don't expect them to win, and then they go on and perform because some of these players turn up, or Ten Hag finds a way around a system, finds a way to beat Pep Guardiola. He obviously has something about them. The players obviously have something about them, but there is no consistency whatsoever. And for the longest time, I've thought, okay, that's because Ten Hag doesn't have a style of play. He doesn't know his best 11. But you look at all those players; they should all be playing better. Like, I'm starting to think now they are letting him down because they create chances. They're not that easy to score against. It's not like they've got the leakiest defence in the world. They've got good players in that defence. They've just bought De Ligt, who has been wanted for a long, long time. I'm starting to change my opinion. I'm starting to think that maybe the players who are there are just letting him down.
All right, let's get score predictions. What are you going to say? 3-0 Brentford. Score?
No. United will win. I
Score?
think United will win 3-0.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Brentford are a good team, but I think United will win.
I'll say 2-1 Manchester United.
Despite all the hype we're trying to give Ten Hag, I think it'll be 1-1. I think Thomas Frank is one of the best coaches in the league at making an opposition's life difficult. So let's go with 1-1.